All right, welcome back. So we're gonna work on the Moench page some. So the first thing I want to do is instead of using Moench works there, I just want to make a string. And so I want to make a string called message. So this string is available in both the HTML and the CSS. And by default, it's just going to say, welcome to Moench. Now, a couple things here is, let's go ahead and see if it works, and then I'll make this a little better. So right now it says Moench works, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to say message. So now it'll always say welcome to Moench, which is great. This message in TypeScript is kind of funny. So public you don't have to say because it's the default. And string you don't have to say because it's obviously a string. So you actually can get it just down to welcome to Moench. And I'm going to put a semicolon on the end as well. So now it says welcome to Moench. And what we want to do instead is we don't want to say welcome to Moench. We want to say what floor they clicked on. So they're on floor 100 right here. We want to say something about that floor 100. So what we need to do is we need to listen for the route parameters. And so the way this works is we have to use dependency injection for the activated routes. Activated routes. That was spelled horribly wrong. A-T in there. So the activated route should auto import from the add angular router. It's interesting. It's not really showing me what I want here. I guess I'm just going to select one of them and then fix it. So what I want is the at angular / router is where this guy is coming from. And what I want to do here is I want to subscribe to that route. I can subscribe in either place, either in Geononet, and I was missing semicolons all over the place, or I can do it within the constructor. It doesn't really matter. But what I want to do is I want to know when the params change. So you can say params dot subscribe. And then when you subscribe to the parameters, there's some things that you have to give it. So you're going to give it a fat arrow function. So I'm going to type a-fat and use my snippet. So this is a snippet that we added last time for the fat arrow function. And what happens here is you get the route params in, which interestingly, their class type is just called params. Seems like an awfully generic name, but they claim the word params, which is fine. You do need to auto import that, so it's going to say, hey, come from Angular router. And what this does is this is going to give you those route params. The one that I care about is the floor. It's actually the only one in there. And it looks like this syntax-wise. So you say, so it passes in route params. That route param is an object. And one of the things that it's got is the floor. The reason it's got a floor is because over here, we said to name it floor. And so then over here, it pops out as floor. And let's use that to set our message. So we're going to say this.message equals. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use backticks. Backticks it's the character that's just to the left of the number 1. And so you'll notice that those are backticks. Those are single quotes, and those are double quotes. So it's kind of interesting that you've got 3. You've got backticks, single quotes, and double quotes. The one that I want here is backticks. And the reason I want backticks is because then I can use string interpolation. And the way string interpolation works is you say Moench, and then you say $ curly brace, and it lets you put in a variable like right into your string. So it's a fancy way of doing a formatted print string. And so now what should happen is whenever you come to my route, it should say Moench, and then it should say the floor number, which would be kind of cool. So it's recompiling here. And then as soon as it's done, you should see that it pops up and it says Moench 100 right away, which is cool. So if I go to 200, you can see it's now pulling out that value and it's using it in my page. So there's 100 and L100 and L200, and things are going good. So now we've actually received that parameter and we can do something with it. I'm not done with the video, but that's an important enough step that I want to go ahead and check it in separately. So this is receive a route parameter. Cool. And much like, we kind of showed you the basics of routing with 2 buttons, there we showed you the basics of route parameters. We could stop showing you things there, but instead I'm going to do just a little bit more. And the little bit more that I want to do is I want to show an image right here, just for fun, of what that floor looks like. In order to show an image, you have to have an image. And I'll put the link above the video as well. But in the Rose routing guide here, there was during the implementation, you need these pictures to be downloaded. So I'm going to download these pictures. No shock, there's 4 pictures in here for the 4 floors. And the place where I'm going to save it to is I'm going to save it right into my assets folder here. Looks like it's slightly off screen. You can't quite see the word assets. And that's going to download it. And then on my Mac, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that folder and I'm just going to double click on it, which makes a folder called Moench Floors. I'm going to rename that to just be called Images, and then I'm going to delete my zip file. So now I've got my assets, my images, and they show up right here. You should also be able to see those from over in Visual Code Studio. So you can see I've got 4 change files. And those 4 change files are my assets, images. Those 4 guys are now part of my app. Cool. So let's go over to the Moench Component HTML. And let's go ahead and add a little bit here. So instead of a p tag, what I really wanted for this actually was a MD card title. And that'll just make it look better. So I kind of meant to do that last time, but I forgot, but I fixed it this time. And then the next thing I want is MD card content. And again, the way I know about these things is from the documentation, just to kind of quickly point to documentation. So that's over in the card area, and it says that there are card sections. So there's a card title, subtitle, content. So we just need title and content. So the only 2 we care about here. And what we're going to put in our content is an image. So we're going to say image. Whenever you have an image, you should pretty much always have a source and an alt. Alt is what's displayed if there's no image present. And images are missing so often that they recommend you always put in an alt. So just to kind of see if things are working, let's just go ahead and hard code in. So I've got to go back 1 to get to my assets. So I'm going to say back 1 and then assets and images. And I'm just going to put on one of them. I'll just do Moench 100.png. So I'm going to see if this works. And so it shows the image there. You can see that it's kind of going beyond the bounds. So it's just going however big the image is. You could fix that with just a little bit of CSS. And we'll just say, hey, all images, your width is 100%. And what 100% does is it does 100% of the container you're in. So there it actually fits within the container, which is good. So this is just a hard-coded string. But what we want is we're going to actually put source in brackets so that we can reference something in the JavaScript. Just to kind of remind you how this works, as soon as you put on those brackets, it makes the thing in here become JavaScript. If you think about this, this is not valid JavaScript right now, right? So it's just going to crash my app. But now in order to be valid JavaScript, it's actually pretty easy. I can put a single quote on there and a single quote on at the end, and it put on 2. I hate when IDEs do that. It's not helpful. Now this is valid JavaScript, right? Because it's just a string and it works just like it did before. But actually that's not what I want either. I'm going to put this onto my clipboard, so I got to Control X that. I'm going to say image URL. Then I'm going to go over into my TypeScript, and I'm going to make a field for image URL, and I'm going to set it initially to be that. So interestingly enough, it's going to still work again because we're saying, hey, use this variable, and then this variable is set to a string. But what we want to do is we want to actually update that variable So I'm going to do my backticks again here. And I'm going to copy this part of it. So I'm going to copy kind of the whole thing. But right here where it says 100, what that 100 really is that is my dollar, mustache, floor. And so now, instead of just being always floor 100, it's going to bring in that parameter. And you can see that I very carefully named my files 100, 200, L100, L200, such that that trick would work. And so now you can see it's showing L200 here and L200 right there on the image. And if I go to the 100 floor, you can see it's first floor, and they all should work, right? So there's 200, second floor, and then L200 is the basement, right? Spend a lot of time in the basement. Lots of good machines down there to work with. Cool, so we just brought in the images, and it worked great, which was super fun. I think that feels like a check-in and a good enough spot for the end of the video. So this is displaying the image, and you can look at what all you've got here. So this is display the Moench image. And we'll come back next time. We'll do just a little bit of cleanup for mobile, and then we'll get this guy deployed. All right, see you next time. Bye.